Hey everyone, and welcome back to Lavish Lifestyle. A real fairy tale is to be inside a huge castle and feel like a queen or a king. These walls are steeped in history, magic, and wonders. Thanks to fairy tales, we are accustomed to thinking that castles are something incredible and inexorable, a place where magnificent prompts and social events were held. In the old days, there was nothing the rich and powerful could do to show off their wealth and influence than to build a castle. Whether it was intended for defense or simply as a retreat, the castle was always an awesome and imposing sight. Today we're going to be talking about the most insane mansions in the world. Make sure you stay until the end because this information is really incredible. After watching this video, you will know about the most unusual, expensive, and freaky houses which exist in the world. Number 7. Castel Nuovo. Built by the first king of Naples, Charles I of Anjou, Castel Nuovo, Italian for New Castle, is one of the city's most famous landmarks. Its majestic architecture, facing the deep blue Mediterranean Sea, has been part of the history of Naples over the last 8 centuries, silently witnessing the constant succession of men who have made the history of the city great. The castle was a popular cultural center for the first time by giving hospitality to leading intellectuals, doctors and artists like Giotto, Petrarch and Boccaccio. The nowadays castle, however, is the result of a meticulous restoration plan and clearance works of the early years of the 20th century, when the municipal council began to isolate again the castle from the surrounding buildings in recognition of the historical and monumental importance of the fortress. What about the dark secrets that have been hiding behind its impressive walls? This dark story happened in the 15th century when a conspiracy ordered by several nobles of the kingdom against the King Ferrante I of Aragon back in the 15th century was made. King Ferrante, with the excuse of an invitation to his granddaughter's wedding, astutely gathered all of the unaware conspirators in the Hall of the Barons and had them captured and executed. In the darkness of the dungeons of the castle lies the prison or pit of the barons, where are secretly stored 4 coffins without any inscription, containing mortal remains, probably of the nobles who had participated in the barons' conspiracy in 1485. A bit creepy, but it's definitely worth a visit if you are brave enough to do it. Number 6. Mont Saint-Michel. Standing proud on the shores of the Normandy is the picturesque Mont Saint-Michel. It's basically a small town built around and below an old abbey, connected to the mainland by only a narrow causeway. What makes it truly awe-inspiring is the way it seems to just rise up from the sea, making it one of France's most remarkable landmarks. The island was originally called Montauban, but became known as Mont Saint-Michel in the 8th century, when Saint Albert, Bishop of Avranches, built an oratory there after having vision of the archangel Saint Michael. It rapidly became a pilgrimage center, and in 966, a Benedictine abbey was built there. In 1203, it was partly burned when King Philip II of France tried to capture the mount. He compensated the monks by paying for the construction of the monastery known as La Merveille, the Wonder. However, the monastery was dissolved during the French Revolution. It became a state prison under Napoleon I, and remained a prison until 1863. In 1874, it was classified as a historic monument and restored. Number 5. Windsor Castle. Windsor Castle is the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world. Having been built in the 11th century by William the Conqueror, it is today Queen Elizabeth's favorite weekend home. The upper ward of the castle includes the private apartments of the monarch and private apartments for visitors. The state apartments in the upper ward include the Waterloo Chamber, St. George's Hall, and the Grand Reception Room. The upper ward is also the site of the Royal Library, which contains a priceless collection of drawings by Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, Hans Holbein the Younger, and other older masters. Fire destroyed the northeast corner of the upper ward in November 1992. Most of the paintings, furniture, and other movable treasures were saved, but more than 100 rooms, including St. George's Hall, were destroyed or damaged. A successful restoration of the affected area was completed in 1997. Despite everything that happens to this castle, surrounded by gardens and woodlands, a visit to this beautiful medieval structure is a real trip back in time. Number 4. Himeji Castle. It was built for war, became haunted by vengeful ghosts, is protected by magic ceramic tiles, and boasts a bizarre military maze to confuse invaders. Myth, superstition, bloodshed, and glory reverberate through the 83 buildings of the biggest and most revered castle in Japan. Today a tourist attraction outside Kobe, this hilltop fortress has a dark, strange story. Himeji is the largest and one of the most beautiful castles in Japan. Apart from its aesthetics, the way it is built is also a reminder that it was once a fortress meant to withstand enemy assaults, with its strong, fire-resistant walls, multiple moats, weapon racks, hiding places, and confusing design. For 400 years, the imposing white facade of Himeji Castle has been an icon of Japan. It is described by UNESCO as the finest surviving example of early 17th century Japanese castle architecture. Number 3. Versailles Palace, the most beautiful castle in all of France, which is already saying a lot. Versailles was built by Louis XIV, one of the most luxurious-minded monarchs in history, and by taking a stroll through its wonderful gardens or through the magnificent Hall of Mirrors, you can see that his fame is well-deserved. The history of Versailles is inextricably linked with the figure of Louis XIV. Although the location existed for centuries before the sovereign, Louis XIV developed a genuine liking for Versailles early on and decided to extend it beyond the chateau that had grown out of the hunting lodge of brick and stone first built by his father. The king, who could see great things for the chateau and the forests around it, took on the role of architect himself and built a masterpiece with which he would forever be associated. Today the palace contains 2,300 rooms spread over 63,145 square meters. Currently the centerpiece of Versailles urban planning, the palace seems a far cry from the countryside residence it once was. Nevertheless, the garden end on the west side of the state of Versailles is still adjoined by woods and agriculture. Number 2. Malbork Castle. Another beautiful medieval fortress Europe seems to be full of. Malbork was built by the famed warriors of the Order of the Teutonic Knights as a part of their conquest in what is now Poland. It is the largest castle in the world by surface area and the largest brick building in Europe. And in addition to this, its distinct reddish color makes it a truly unforgettable sight. Following severe damage in the Second World War, it once was again restored, using the detailed documentation prepared by earlier conservators. Today, visitors are welcome to roam the castle grounds, with many day tripping from cities such as Gdynia or charming Gdansk to explore the expansive courtyard and trek along the long corridors that branch off into exhibition halls adorned with armor, ceramics, and even tapestries dating back to the 1500s. Number 1. Neuschwanstein Castle. Built on top of a hill in southern Bavaria, Neuschwanstein is a truly remarkable citadel, built as a retreat by the reclusive King Ludwig of Bavaria in the second half of the 19th century. If it seems oddly familiar, it's because it was the inspiration for the iconic Disney Sleeping Beauty castle, upon which the Disney logo itself is based. Neuschwanstein is known as a castle of paradox. It was built in a time when castles were no longer necessary as strongholds, and, despite its romanticized medieval design, Louis also required it to have all the newest technological comforts. The lavish structure is complete with a walled courtyard, an indoor garden, spires, towers, and an artificial cave. In contrast to the medieval castles it was modeled after, Neuschwanstein is equipped with running water throughout, including flush toilets and hot water in the kitchen and baths, and has a forced air central heating system. The dining room is serviced by an elevator from the kitchen 3 stories below. Louis even made sure the castle was connected to telephone lines, although at the time of its construction very few people had telephones. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lavish Lifestyle channel. Let me know your opinion about this video in the comments section below.